My name is Jean Herman, and I am 27 years old. If someone had told me my life would fall apart at the altar, under a shower of white roses, soft violin music, and 300 guests holding their breath, I would have laughed. I was the safe one, the predictable one. Things like this didn't happen to me. But they did. Growing up with my stepsister Joanna, things were always uneven. We were the same age, but she was everything I wasn't. Brave, extroverted, loud in all the ways the world applauds. She could stare down bullies and win. She knew how to dress, how to charm, how to walk into a room as if it already belonged to her. Me? I was the introverted science nerd hiding behind oversized glasses and lab manuals. Our parents tried forcing us into a sisterly bond, but we never managed more than cold tolerance. She joked about my flat hair, my plain clothes, my awkwardness. I pushed back with quiet anger. The house was only peaceful the day I moved out at 15. We saw each other twice a year after that. Quick, polite, forgettable visits. She moved out at 20, and our worlds drifted apart entirely. For a long time, that space felt like peace, until Nick entered my life. Nick was 27, gentle-handed, soft-spoken, and genuinely kind. The kind of man who remembered your favorite snack and bought it just because. We dated for 3 years, and last fall he went down on one knee and asked me to marry him. I said yes so fast I barely let him finish the question. He was my first proper boyfriend. Introversion doesn't exactly help secure a dating life, but he made me feel cherished, safe, wanted. This spring, we planned our wedding. And since I was terrible at organizing anything beyond lab schedules, I kept things simple. Color palettes, themes, chairs, I had no idea. So when Joanna called the day after our engagement dinner and said, "Jane, let me plan your wedding. I want to make up for how I treated you growing up," I froze. We were never close, not even friendly. But she insisted, said she had connections in event management and free time between flight schedules. My dad thought it would be beautiful for the family if both daughters were involved. Against my instincts, I agreed. Looking back, that was mistake number one. Joanna dove into wedding planning like it was a competition show. She knew vendors, stylists, florists, decorators. I let her run the whole thing because I was buried in lab deadlines. But around the same time, Nick changed. He claimed it was work stress, late nights, exhaustion, overthinking, but something in his voice didn't match. His eyes were distant. His phone always flipped face down. I brushed it off. Everyone gets overwhelmed, right? Wedding planning is stressful for grooms too, isn't it? I convinced myself it was normal. And then the day before the wedding, the event manager, Joanna's friend, gave us a tour of the venue. Joanna tagged along. She and the manager acted like lifelong best friends, laughing, whispering, leaning into inside jokes. Nick smiled too politely, too tightly. I caught a strange look between the three of them. Something I couldn't name, something that made my stomach twist. For a heartbeat, Joanna's eyes lingered on Nick, and his on hers. Something inside me whispered, "Ask. Ask right now, before it's too late." But the wedding was tomorrow. After tomorrow, it would be just Nick and me, and Joanna would be out of the picture. So I swallowed the warning. That was mistake number 2. On the wedding day, everything sparkled. Pearls, white silk, chandeliers dripping light like diamonds. Except Joanna was nowhere in sight. I assumed she was outside managing the chaos. Fine. I stepped into the chapel, my dress sweeping the aisle like a quiet sigh. And that's when I saw her, sitting in the far left corner, face pale, eyes swollen, shoulders shaking. She looked devastated. But why would Joanna cry at my wedding? We weren't close enough for her to shed tears, not the real kind. I ignored her, focusing on Nick waiting at the altar. But Nick wasn't glowing the way grooms do. His smile was thin, forced. His hands were sweating when I took them. "Are you okay?" I whispered. "Yeah," he mumbled, "just nervous." The pastor began the ceremony. My heart slowed, heavy but hopeful. Then he reached the words, "If anyone has any objection," and my world cracked open. Joanna stood, not slowly, violently. Everyone turned. Her voice trembled, sobbing uncontrollably. She wasn't looking at me. She was staring directly at Nick. "I'm sorry," she gasped, "but I can't let this happen. I'm in love with him. I'm in love with Nick." A hush fell so deep it felt like the air stopped moving. My parents shot up from their seats. I stared at Joanna, frozen, unable to process a single sound. Stop it, I snapped. Joanna, what the hell are you doing? But she didn't even hear me. She was locked on Nick like I didn't exist. The pastor, confused, turned to Nick. Do you have anything to say? Nick's face crumpled. Then he dropped to the floor, sobbing. No, 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 no. I rushed to him, panic swallowing my chest. Nick, look at me. What's happening? He couldn't speak. Joanna knelt beside him, lifting his face with her hands. This is your last chance, she cried. Tell the truth, Nick. If you don't say it now, you'll be trapped. She won't let you go. The guests gasped. Phones came out. Whispers spread like wildfire. I yanked Joanna's hands off him. Are you out of your mind? But everyone already knew. Everyone but me. Nick finally looked up at me, tears spilling over. I'm sorry, he whispered. I fell in love with her during the wedding planning. My knees buckled. People stared, murmured, recorded. I was being gutted alive in front of 300 witnesses. My father grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the exit. Jean, sweetheart, let's go. Outside, the cool air hit me like ice. I couldn't breathe, couldn't stand. The humiliation burned like acid. But it got worse. Inside, Nick and Joanna confessed everything. They had slept together a week before the wedding. And the night before the wedding, and all those late work nights, they were with her. Joanna is just so beautiful, Nick said, shamefully. I couldn't resist. My vision went blurry. The world tilted. I stumbled toward the changing room, desperate to escape their voices, their betrayal, their everything. I looked in the mirror, my wedding dress glowing under the lights, my face streaked with tears. Then the door slammed open. Joanna walked in, smirking. Don't worry, she said sweetly. I'll be out of here soon. Nick is waiting for me. Get out, I snapped. Get out, she laughed. You know he calls me a homewrecker? In bed. She winked. Cute, right? I wanted to scream, to scratch her face, to do something that matched the level of pain she was inflicting. Jean, she sneered. How could you ever think Nick would choose you? Have you seen yourself? She eyed me up and down. Flat, spongy, awkward. Your style is tragic. Nick told me he doesn't even know what he saw in you. That was the dagger. She twisted it, slow, intentional. She slammed the door behind her, leaving me alone. I ripped off the veil, grabbed my bag, and ran. Into the car, onto the road, into the night. And for the first time since I was a teenager, I realized I had absolutely nowhere to go. When I drove away from the venue, the world looked blurry. Streetlights stretching into glowing smears, the road dissolving under my wheels. I had no home to return to. Nick's apartment, our apartment, was no longer mine. I couldn't walk back into a place where our framed photos hung on the walls, and our shared memories lived in the furniture. So I called my friend Mara, voice cracking so hard she answered on the first half ring. Jean, what happened? Are you okay? I choked out a single sentence. I can't go home. She didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. She simply said, come here, right now. The next morning, a text jolted me awake. Packers Company. Where should we deliver your belongings? Nick. Nick had hired people to throw my life into boxes and ship it away like trash. He didn't call to check on me. Didn't apologize. Didn't ask where I was. He just wanted me removed. I called my dad, voice trembling. Can I store my stuff in your garage until I find a place? He agreed instantly. The following days were a blur of exhaustion, viewing tiny studio apartments, sorting boxes, crying in bathrooms between appointments. My friends took turns taking me out for coffee, helping me assemble furniture, buying me groceries. They tried to fill the holes left inside me. I tried to pretend I wasn't hollow. Therapy helped a little. Once a month wasn't much, but it kept me from drowning entirely. Still, every night the same question echoed. How did I miss it? How could the people closest to me be so cruel? Online commenters weren't kind either. Plenty of, how didn't you see this coming? And your fault for letting her plan the wedding. As if victims can smell betrayal before it bleeds. 2 months later, something unbelievable happened. Joanna and Nick got married. At the same venue, with the same decor, the same chandeliers, the same aisle I had walked down, dreaming about a future he never intended to give me. Joanna emailed me the invitation. Not to be kind, not to include me, but to gloat. Look, I won. I got him. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to Dad. He read it and muttered, she's unbelievable. That night, Mara arrived at my apartment with tacos, beer, and the entire friend group ready for emotional triage. Let's get revenge, one of my friends laughed while lighting her cigarette on the balcony, or at least brainstorm while we get drunk. We tossed out ridiculous ideas. Release roaches at their reception. Send Joanna a bill for emotional damages. Change her name in the airline records to Joe Helna. We drank, we laughed, we cried, and then something clicked. Joanna didn't smoke cigarettes. She smoked weed, frequently, casually, like it was chewing gum. Who cares? One friend shrugged. But I froze. Her employer cared. Joanna was a flight attendant, and flight attendants were absolutely forbidden to use substances. Ever. Random drug tests, strict regulations, zero tolerance. My heart thudded once, sharply. What if, a friend whispered, half joking, we tipped off her airline? We stared at each other. It was wild, stupid, petty, dangerous. Perfect. I hesitated. Revenge felt heavy, like a knife that could cut the wrong way. But then I remembered her painting me as worthless at my own wedding, her smirk, her cruelty. The way she said Nick was too handsome for me. And I pressed send. The email was anonymous. Subject: concerning the drug use of your employee, Joanna Herman. She has been smoking during work hours. Please conduct a test immediately. A concerned passenger. I didn't expect a reply, but the next morning, my phone rang. Ma'am, can you provide further details? I spun a careful lie. Said I'd seen her on a recent flight, eyes red, acting strange. Refused to give my name. Told them to check her records. They thanked me and hung up. I thought it would lead nowhere. Anonymous tips rarely did. So I moved on. 2 years passed. I transferred to a different city, started fresh, built a life that had nothing to do with Joanna, Nick, or the shattered girl I used to be. I even stopped checking for updates on their lives. Healing meant letting the past rot on its own timeline. Then one afternoon, my dad called. Jane, I need your help with Joanna. The sentence hit me like a cold wave. What do you mean? He sighed heavily, an old, tired sound. She lost her job. Someone tipped off the airline 2 years ago. They ran a random test and she failed. It got worse when they investigated. She had been manipulating her results for years. My breath caught. Manipulating? How? She had an affair with the lab technician handling the screenings. Of course she did, Dad continued, voice cracking. They fired her, blacklisted her, and Nick left. Apparently, Joanna spiraled. She wasted the money Dad lent her, partied nonstop, ended up couch hopping until everyone threw her out. Her friend called Dad in desperation. She's out of control. Dad checked her into rehab, paid for everything. She got better for a few months. Now he wanted me, to help her find an office job. I said no, firm, cold, final. He was disappointed, but he understood. Except I didn't understand myself. Guilt crept in like slow poison. No one knew I was the one who sent the tip. No one ever would. I tried to sleep that night, but couldn't. The guilt burned behind my ribs until I finally grabbed my phone and opened my contacts. A week later, I helped Joanna get a job at a publishing house. Part of me hoped this would be the closure I needed, a clean slate between us. But Joanna was still Joanna. Within months, she started stealing books and selling them on the black market at cheap prices. My friend, who worked there, caught her. She's a liability. I'm reporting her, she snapped. I begged her not to. It'll drag down the company too, please. Just fire her quietly. She agreed. And just like that, Joanna lost another job, another chance, another lifeline. Dad finally snapped. He kicked her out, stopped funding her mistakes. And I realized helping her changed nothing. She wasn't a victim of my revenge. She was a victim of herself. Christmas came early that year, cold and glittering, as if the universe wanted to wrap every street in forgiveness. But forgiveness was the last thing on my mind. I returned to my hometown for just a short visit, mainly to see old friends, exchange gifts, eat too many ginger cookies, and then slip back into my quiet life in the city. I had no intention of visiting my parents' house for long. 1 hour, tops, enough to show my face, say Merry Christmas, and avoid any conversations that included the name Joanna. After the hour was up, I left the house and headed toward evening mass at the church down the street. The air was sharp, filled with distant laughter and the smell of cinnamon bread from the bakery across the road. Crowds poured into the church, shoulders brushing, coats rustling. And then I saw him. Nick, standing just a few feet away. Hair slightly longer, face hollowed by time. His eyes widened when he recognized me. I froze, but only for a moment. Then I forced myself to nod politely. Hi, he said quietly. Hi. We ended up walking inside together because the crowd pushed us shoulder to shoulder. I hated how small the world could be sometimes. We sat in the same row, not by choice, but by force. He didn't speak during the sermon, but I felt him glancing at me every few minutes. I kept my eyes locked on the candles ahead, pretending I didn't notice. When the mass ended, I tried to slip out with the crowd, but he caught up. "Jen, can I talk to you for a moment?" Part of me wanted to say no, absolutely not. But it was Christmas. My heart wasn't as cold as my past. "Oh, fine, 5 minutes." We stepped aside into a quiet corner outside the church. Snowflakes drifted between the streetlights. He exhaled, shaky. "I want to say I'm sorry." Silence, heavy and expectant. "For everything," he continued. "For hurting you, for choosing Joanna, for not having the courage to stop." I folded my arms, not out of anger, but self-protection. "You don't owe me an apology, or maybe you do, but I'm not asking for it." He swallowed. Sleeping with her was the worst decision I ever made, and I made an even worse one by marrying her. I felt obligated. She made me feel like I'd used her, like I had to fix it. I didn't answer. His words fell between us like old ashes. "We were toxic together," he said. "She destroyed everything in her path, including me." "You made your choices, Nick," I said quietly. "I know." His eyes glistened. "Are you seeing someone now?" "That's not your business." He flinched a little, but nodded. "I understand. Still, would you like to visit the art gallery nearby? Just for old time's sake. Nothing romantic." I paused. I had no plans for the next morning, and I wasn't afraid of him anymore, so I agreed. The art gallery was calm, walls washed in soft white light. We walked together, talking like two distant acquaintances. Polite, reserved, nothing more. He didn't touch me, didn't flirt, didn't push. It was normal, almost oddly peaceful. Afterward, we went our separate ways. I thought it was over. But when I got home that night and finally charged my dead phone, it exploded with notifications. 23 messages from Nick. "Jean, did you get home safe? Let me know when you arrive. I miss you. It felt good to see you. Can we talk tomorrow? I really miss you. Jean, are you asleep? Just tell me you're okay. I want us to have another chance." My stomach tightened. The next day, more messages, more calls, more clinginess. He acted like we were slipping back into something that never truly existed. Every time I ignored him, hoping he would get the message. But he didn't. Finally, after 3 days of constant persistence, I answered his call. "Nick," I said flatly, "I don't want to keep in touch. I've moved on." A beat of silence, then his voice hardened. "Then why did you go to the gallery with me?" "Grow up, Nick. It was just a visit. It didn't mean anything." His ego cracked like glass. He hung up. I hoped that would be the end. It wasn't. A week later at 2 a.m., my phone rang. I woke up in confusion, reaching blindly for it. "Nick." "Of course." "Jean," he slurred. "Nothing serious. I just wanted to check on you." Before I could even respond, a hand reached over and took the phone from mine. My boyfriend, my real boyfriend, my actual partner, the man who sleeps like a rock and wakes like an erupting volcano when disturbed, put the phone to his ear. His voice was low, dangerous. "Listen, buddy, it's 2 a.m. She doesn't want to talk to you, ever, again. If you call this number one more time, I promise your next regret will keep you up at night more than she ever did." I won't repeat the rest. He's protective when half asleep in a way that borders on terrifying. Nick stammered something and hung up. After that, silence. Complete, delicious silence. He finally understood. Whatever fantasy he'd built in his head shattered that night. I didn't tell him I had a boyfriend before. He didn't deserve to know. And I don't talk about my boyfriend much now either. Not because I'm hiding him, but because I don't want to jinx something that feels rare and steady. All I'll say is this. He is nothing like Nick. He is everything Nick wasn't. And because Nick betrayed me, I found someone so much better. Joanna's life collapsed because of her own choices. Nick's life crumbled because he abandoned his integrity. But mine? Mine rebuilt itself in ways I never imagined. Karma did what it needed to, and I stepped out of the ashes stronger, clearer, and finally, free. I'm going to delete this story in a few days. I just wanted to give closure to the sweet people who kept checking on me. Thank you for the love.